We're reaching the end of this, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, I am running out of fucking energy for this show. My God, I'm about to have a panic attack every time there's like a character alone. I'm like, oh God, no, run. I don't want to see nobody die anymore. I swear, if there's ever a scene where, like, Brooke's alone, it just freaks me out way too much. I'm like, no, Brooke, you need to stay by somebody's... Girl, what's wrong with you? I feel like her father. I'm like, Brooke, you need a buddy. You need a swimming buddy at all times, Brooke. Get your hot ass in somebody else's house. Hey, guys, this is Mike. Welcome back to Fright Flicks and Killer Theories for MTV Scream Season 2. Oh, it's good to be back. Feels like it's been a long time, doesn't it? Oh, my God. Good to be back. Those final killer theories last week, that about killed me. So it's nice to be back doing a simple little recap, that kind of stuff. Just real quick on the final killer theories. Of course, those are closed now. Thank you for everybody who put your votes in. I mean, it was over 1,000 comments, and I think over all of those comments, well, I know I ended up with 400 and it was 439. That's some weak shit, isn't it? 439. Wasn't even 440. Actual votes by the end of it. So anyway, that was really cool, and it was a bitch to try and keep up with those, but I really appreciate, and let me just say this real quick, there'll be a video index on this one too, but always stick around for everything. Very cool that a vast majority, not everybody by any means, but a vast majority of people literally did put my final killer theories are and 2 names. You know, some people wrote quite a bit more, and sorry, maybe I'll try and go back and review some of that a little bit, but oh my goodness God, yeah, my brains were a little bit fried this week. Again, gotta remember, just one man. Anyway, it was very cool. Thank you guys a lot for all of that. Whew. Anyway, so now that all that crap is over with, and we'll get into, you know, the killer congratulations next week, of course, because we didn't get shit this week. Just a thank you for all that, and now let's get back into what we all love so much, the episode specifics. Again, little side note real quick, I will be doing an episode 10, the Vanishing episode specific breakdown, you know, like we always do. More than likely, though, that's going to be a bonus video that either comes out totally randomly. Yeah, you never know. You never know. Always keep checking back. It might come up randomly. Or more than likely, just because, you know, get a little bit swamped at this time of year. Halloween's coming up, you know, Fright Flicks, go figure. That might be a video I do as a bonus at the very end, like after the last episode and Killer Congrats and all that stuff. So anyway, keep an eye open because you never know when it's going to hit. And a special shout out to Melanie Ann for being like, please do one, please. I miss him so much. I agree. I miss him a lot too. So that said, let's get into this episode specifically. That would be episode 11, Heavenly Creatures. Episode 11, Heavenly Creatures. This one is named after the Peter Jackson, awesome Peter Jackson, first really drama that he ever did. Heavenly Creatures starred a young Kate Winslet and a young, I forget what her name is, but she was in a lot of episodes. She was like the crazy chick who lived next door, evidently. Just going off IMDb here. She's the crazy chick who lived next door to Charlie Sheen in 2.5 Men for all those seasons. I don't know, maybe that means something to you. I think I've seen like one episode. Anyway, so she was in that, and she was in this other little like indie HBO show, Togetherness, which was, or maybe it was just called Together. Anyway, Mark Duplass brothers. She was one of the leads of that show. Anyway, she's very good. That's a very good movie. Check it out. Heavenly Creatures by Peter Jackson. Anyway, so the basis of that movie is 2 female killers. In this one, as we see towards the end, we got our 2 female killers. You know, obviously not, but still, it's a very cool idea. And if the show would have actually gone that way and the killer reveal would have been Audrey and Emma, I would have been like, yeah, that was badass. But, you know, it didn't go that way, and so whatever. We get to that at the end. We all saw it, whatever. Anyway, this episode was written by Ann Christopher, who's written other episodes for this season at least. I believe she wrote one other episode. I should have researched that. I didn't. Anyway, she's good. I like her a lot. And this episode was directed by my man, the Scream go-to. Like, I mean, I'm a big fan of a lot of these guest, like, star directors that they get. Last episode was the guys who did Starry Eyes. Very cool. And I believe the last episode coming up here is directed by Patrick Lussier. He did My Bloody Valentine remake, Drive Angry, and what's really cool is he was the editor for all 3 excuse me. He was the editor for all 4 Scream movies. Yes, Patrick Lussier is a big deal in the horror movie community, especially Scream. Edited every single one of them. Very cool. Really looking forward to his. That's if you can trust IMDb, which I'm going to. Anyway, so forget about him right now. Jamie Travis. Jamie Travis is the only director that I did not know of pre-Scream, and he's really only ever done TV, and probably lame TV at that. But Jamie Travis, I see his name, I get excited. I'm like, yeah, Jamie Travis, give us some cool shit. And for the most part, he does. You know, he never really lets us down. The shot that really sticks, the 2 shots, sequence of shots, that really stuck out as him is at the barn at the very end when a certain character gets killed. We all know who got killed, but I'm not going to give it away right now, just in case. Anyway, when that one character gets killed and like that traveling wide angle shot of like just stabbing him all the way across the barn, I was like, yeah, that's badass. That's badass. Bring it on, Jim Travis. Anyway, so he was awesome. Did an awesome job again. Go figure. Gotta love the guy. Anyway, the episode starts and Emma's lazy ass is sleeping. I'm just joking. Come on now. Not hating on Emma right off the bat. Emma actually wasn't that bad in this episode. I kind of liked Emma in this episode. Hooray for Ann Christopher for not writing her like a useless the whole time. Anyway, so this part was really cool. This is the kind of stuff I was talking about. If I was, I hate to say this kind of thing, but if I was the writer of this show, this is the kind of stuff that I would be doing a lot. I love to see the killer working behind the scenes. You know what I mean? So fucking cool. Anyway, so the episode starts and Emma's lazy ass is sleeping, and it goes downstairs and it shows the alarm system. All of a sudden, alarm system deactivates. Evidently, the killer has an app for that, whatever. Anyway, and then it's like, jiggle the door handle. Someone creepy runs by the window. I'm like, that ain't the fucking killer. That's just somebody, you know, there'll be an excuse for this. Wah, wah, wah. Goes to the other back door. Jingles it. I'm like, it's still not the killer. That ain't nobody. Who gives a fuck? Blah, blah, blah. We'll find out that it's somebody stupid. Goes to the back door. Pops the motherfucker open, and door opens, and it's the fucking killer. I was like, yeah, burn the pain. And it's like framed with a bunch of knives in the foreground, which the killer doesn't pick up any of those knives, go figure. But anyway, then the killer just comes walking his happy Brandon James wearing ass right into the fucking kitchen. I'm like, holy fuck, like this motherfucker ain't playing no more. Like this badass. Like, where's this gonna go? Anyway, so the killer starts walking upstairs and dragging the knife. That's the one thing that I think was done for just theatrics. Why was the killer dragging the knife? Anyway, so blah, blah, blah. We all know that the killer's Kieran at this point. At least that's who I'm going with. The views were actually fairly split on the final killer theories, but I think a lot of people literally who didn't pick Kieran were literally like, I don't know, it seems kind of boring to pick Kieran, so I'm not going to. So anyway, so Kieran's walking his happy ass up the stairs, and he's dragging this knife, right? So he goes into one room, he opens it up, Maggie's ass is sleeping. He's like, oh shit, wrong room, boom. And so he heads on down to Emma's room, right? So Kieran walks, Kieran walks into her room, right? And he goes up to this thing, and he like fucks around with this one piece of jewelry. I don't know if you see him take it or whatever, but that might become pivotal later, or did Kieran ever give her a piece of that jewelry? I don't know, but I couldn't research all that before I start doing this. So the killer goes up and he's like fucking around with her jewelry. Goes to a picture of literally her and Kieran. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe that's not spot on for a lot of people. I don't know. That gave me pause. But anyway, goes up, taps the motherfucking picture. Taps himself, basically. Kieran's like, tick, tick, tick. Anyway, so he walks over to Emma's sleeping ass, and he goes over to her dream journal. I'm like, see, the killer doesn't want to kill Emma. I'd have slit her throat in her sleep big time. Killed Maggie's little hot ass for good measure, too. Anyway, so he doesn't kill Emma. He's obviously not after Emma. We knew that he's up to some other shit. He wants to frame Emma. So anyway, he goes to her fucking dream journal. God, I'd love to get my hands on that to see how many times I Feel So Betrayed is written in that song, bitch. Anyway, so Kieran goes, opens the picture. Emma's fucking useless ass. I'm joking. I liked Emma a little bit more in this episode. But anyway, Emma's useless ass wakes up and doesn't turn around and be like, Kieran, what are you doing in my room? Take off that mask and come have sex with me. She doesn't say anything like that. She just opens her eyes and literally just doesn't do anything. I mean, I get it. It was supposed to be suspenseful, whatever. But anyway, she just lays there and she's like, all right, has the killer left the room yet? Let me wait 30 fucking seconds. Yep, okay, boom. Then looks, doesn't say anything. Wakes up, she's like, oh my God, my dream journal. And then the killer, Kieran, runs downstairs, runs out, and like leaves this little keepsake. He like carves Emma on a thing or whatever. It's a callback to the Daisy Brandon James thing. Anyway, so he leaves that shit for her. Emma turns around. She's like, "Oh my God, Mom, help!" Scream. Boom. Okay, moving on. Okay, so then we cut to a scene of Kieran waking up. Kieran looks all tired. I mean, the guy, like we said, the guy's busy. He's always got some shit to do. He's always running around killing people. Man doesn't get sleep too much. So anyway, he wakes up. His hair is all crazy. He comes walking out into the living room, and Eli's old creeper ass is sitting there at 3:30 in the morning eating cereal. Serial killer. Get it? Walk, 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 walk. Anyway, so Eli's sketchy ass is up. And he's eating cereal, and he's like, "Where are you going?" And Kieran's like, "Oh, I'm going to go over to Emma's house to steal her dream journal." I mean, I'm going over to Emma's because she just called me, even though we didn't see that happen, and I'm going over there to help her because evidently the killer broke into her house. He doesn't say none of that shit. Nope, not a bit of it. Because his ass, like, his phone went off. He's like, "Shit! I need to be over at Emma's house and stealing her dream journal. I'm behind on my shit." So he gets up all groggy and he's like, "Fuck, where's my suit? I gotta find my fucking suit and shit. Where are my keys? I gotta find my fucking keys." And then Eli's creeper ass eating his fucking cereal, eating his Wheaties. He needs that shit. Killers need their fucking nutrition, man. Anyway, so he wakes up. He sees him there. Why is Eli up? Now, in one of the next scenes, it's the sheriff and the mom talking. And she's like, "Earlier tonight, I went and stuck something in Brandon James's tree." And this was his callback. Okay, so it's the same night, basically. So Eli's creeper ass, at the end of last episode, sees her stick something in the tree. He's like, "Ha ha 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 ha. I knew that Kieran's been communicating with somebody." So Eli, because he's going to end up being, you know, a fairly good guy, even though he's a fucking creeper. Anyway, so he's like, "Oh, okay." So he goes home. He goes home and he's like, "I'm going to sit here and eat cereal and wait for Kieran to do some sketchy shit." Sure enough, not long after, Kieran wakes up to do some sketchy shit. Supposedly, he gets up, talks to Eli, goes right over to the house now. So Kieran wakes up, goes to the house, breaks in, does all that fucking creepy shit. Goes, waits in the bushes for about 10 minutes. All the other cops show up. Then we get back on track. He comes busting in the house. The sheriff and Maggie talk. She says it's the same night as last night. And Kieran's all like, "Baby, he didn't hurt you, did he?" And she's like, "No, he didn't hurt me. Here, give me keys." Anyway, so then the sheriff and Maggie are talking in the kitchen, and she says, "Okay, let's say it's not Brandon. Then who could it be? Lang." Bom, bom, bom. Moving on. Noah's in the hospital, so is Lang. That's weird. I wonder if that's going to be something. I don't know. Lang's starting to look pretty damn sketchy, and that's pretty perfect that the two would be in the same spot. Anyway, so Noah's in the hospital. Brooke, yay! Fucking Brooke, I'm so fucking happy Brooke's back. So Brooke and everybody else, including Kieran, visits him, and Brooke's just so adorable, and she's awesome. And she's like, "I brought you movies," because Brooke is, you know, she knows what everybody would like, and Brooke is the ultimate girlfriend. Anyway, so she's like, "I brought you movies," and Kieran's like, "Yeah, we brought you Psycho, bum bum bum, Night of the Living Dead, and It Follows." Interesting shout outs. Anyway, so Noah's like, "I don't watch that crap anymore. I'm shutting the morgue down." Blah. And he's just kind of a little bit of a drag. But, I mean, Noah's been through some shit. Like, Noah can't have a fucking girlfriend without that bitch getting killed. So, like, I totally side with Noah. If anybody's allowed to be a little whiny bitch every once in a while, it's Noah. Like, he can have his day in court. So, anyway, he's basically doing that for most of the episode. Cut to Gustavo and Brooke. Yeah. And Gustavo's drawing a bloody picture of the mayor. We get into all that later. That didn't fucking mean anything. Anyway, Mayor Maddox is on TV, him and Brooke, and they've been hooking up, son of a bitch. Anyway, let's just skip on past that. So then we go to Emma, Audrey, and Kieran. They're at Noah's house, and Noah told me, he's like, "I told my mom you were going to come over and take everything down." Still haven't met Noah's mom. I want to meet her. Hopefully, we meet her in season 3, and either Brooke's mom, or this would be even cooler. God, I'm almost shaking of that, like, how cool this would be. How cool would it be if we finally meet Brooke but specifically if it was Noah's mom, and Noah's mom ended up being like Nev Campbell? Holy shit, I would lose my goddamn mind. Anyway, so we still haven't met her, and he's like, "Anyway, my mom knows you're coming over to take down the murder report." So they're all there. Now, who's hanging out with the final girls the most in these last few episodes? Like, we didn't already know, but still, I'm just pointing it out. Kieran, who was helping Emma the most last episode, helping her figure shit out, putting clues literally right in her hand, yada yada yada, drawing the conclusions for her. Piper, who's doing it this time to both the final girls, Kieran. So if you didn't need evidence enough, there's more. Kieran gives his reason for stabbing our favorite character, Noah. He says, "I don't know how we're going to decipher all of this without Noah." Boom, there you go. That's why he stabbed Noah. He's like, "I don't want to hurt you, Noah. and I'm sad, but I've stabbed enough people to know that if I stab you to the left of the belly button and then throw you in a box and leave you for a certain number of hours, it ain't going to kill you, so no hard feelings, bro. Here we go, stab. But we do know also that the person who stabbed Noah wasn't Kieran, because the person who stabbed Noah had titties. And Kieran might have a lot of stuff, but Kieran ain't got no titties, so I don't know what to say about that. That was Zoe stabbing Noah, and then Kieran threw her ass in a box and basically drowned her. Anyway, this is why he let it happen, because I think he likes Noah. He didn't want to kill Noah. He just didn't want Noah deciphering anymore. Anyway, he's helping them all out. Emma finds the picture from the promo of last week. Eli was at Will's funeral. Yada, yada, yada. We all went through this. Why was Eli at Will's funeral if he's not the killer? Listen to my video from, I believe it was last week. Yeah, I went into it last week, my whole thing about Eli. If you haven't heard it, I'll sum it up real quick. Eli came to Lakewood because Eli knows that Kieran is a bad guy. He came to Lakewood when he found out a whole bunch of kids were getting killed. He was making sure that it wasn't Kieran going crazy and killing people again like he killed animals or this, that, the other. He showed up, realized Kieran wasn't the killer, because Kieran, I don't think, was the killer last year. And then he fucked off and went home. So that's what I think he was doing here. Anyway, so then cut to Audrey and Noah. It's a nice little scene. She's like, I brought you some pictures. And it's the pictures from the, carnival thing, whatever. I want a copy of those. Those are badass. And he's like, I'm going to do one final podcast as a goodbye to her. And blah, blah, blah. The killer texts Audrey, and he's like, Emma cuts people off, but I cut deeper. Bom, bom, bom. Okay, so then we cut to a scene of Audrey, Emma, and Kieran. Go figure, all playing detective now. The final girls plus her killer playing detective. And it's like, oh, cuts deeper. And Kieran's like, what could that possibly mean? And Emma's like, oh my god, that must mean that it's Eli. And Kieran's like, I'm going to go fuck him up right now. I'm going to bash this dude with a baseball bat. And she's like, no, Kieran, don't, please. Oh my god. And Kieran looks scary as fuck in that scene. Like, he looks pissed. Oh my god. Because here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that Kieran knew that Eli used to be in town. Like, that's what's really fucking him up now. He's like, I'm going to find out what's up with this motherfucker right now. I don't think Eli ever told him that, so he's about to go find that shit out. He's, like, legitimately pissed. That motherfucker looks evil. If you ever thought that he couldn't be the killer, because he's so nice. Boy, look at the look on his face. That is the scariest look on a person's face who's, like, at least 5 years younger than me, and, like, well, he's about the same height, but, oh boy, he makes that face at me, I'm gonna go run. Johnny Depp looking ass, I'm gonna be gone. Anyway, so he looks scary as shit. She calls him back. We cut to Eli and his mom. Ugh, nasty ass. And she's like, he's paying us to leave town, and blah, 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 and it's payday, and blah, blah. And he's like, Mom, I don't want to leave. There's so many. She's like, why don't you want to leave? He's like, there's so many things here we're staying for. And mom just like, what the fuck was that? She's like, oh, do you mean your cousin's girlfriend? He doesn't say shit. His mom's just like, that's what I thought. See, I told you, even his mom doesn't like him. Like, give her a chance, and she's just like, get your sketchy ass out of here trying to have sex with your killer cousin's fucking girlfriend. How fucking smart are you? One thing I was wondering in this scene is who's paying him. Of course, we assume that it's the mayor, but we're never told that. So maybe it's Kieran who's paying them to leave. Anyway, I don't know where Kieran's getting money, but he's getting money from somewhere, and his ass isn't really going to be using much money lately because he either plans on getting caught or dying or some shit. So anyway, we assume it's the mayor. Probably is. You never know. And then the mom says something interesting like, if we don't leave now, we risk them finding out about us. Now that could mean something, but for the most part, that probably just means they'll find out about you sneaking into houses, and they'll find out about me about burning motherfuckers down. Anyway, so in typical after school special, Eli's like, no, Mom, screw the mayor. I'm going to go deal with him. Mayor dies later in the episode. Everyone's like, oh my god, it must be Eli. God, if it was Eli, I'd be so pissed off. Like, this is bullshit. Like, episode 7. Oh my god, Eli must be the killer. Episode 8. Oh my god, Eli must be the killer. Episode 9, or 10, 11. Oh my god, Eli must be the killer. Killer reveal, and Eli's the killer. Pfft. Yeah, okay. Now you guys might say it's like, oh, but everybody's been saying it's Kieran for all these last episodes. Yeah, but this show is doing every single thing in its power to try and, like, not make Kieran look sketchy. Think about it. When's the last time Kieran actually actively looked sketchy? It wasn't us looking into it. Kieran's always seems like he's being helpful. Case in point, later in this episode, Maggie shows up to the sheriff's office and she's like, I just got a call from Kieran Wilcox and he's trying to help us out. So every single time Kieran is brought up, he's always being a nice guy. He's always showing up. He's always hugging Emma's nasty ass. He's always giving the cops and Emma's mom good details to go off of. He's always like being the one trying to help figure out Eli's sketchy ass. No, he's setting everything up. Whatever, I'm preaching to the choir. Most, if not all of you guys understand that stuff by now. But anyway, let's move on. So we go, the mayor's alone in his big ass house. I swear Brooke's fucking house just keeps getting bigger and bigger every time we don't see it. And all of a sudden loud music starts playing. Oh, blah, blah, blah. He goes upstairs. Eli's creeper ass is creeping around. He looks fucking tiny in the background, but whatever. We've discussed Killer Heights before, and they really don't mean anything. It's a stunt man who plays them anyway. So Eli's old creeper ass is creeping around mansions this time. So the dad goes up, and he's all in fucking shorts and stuff. Like I always say, he never wears anything but suits, and he wears suits, and he acts like a dick. This time he's wearing like Bermuda stuff, and I'm serious. I was like, oh, his ass ain't surviving this episode. I thought he was going to die in that scene. But I was like, he ain't surviving the episode because this is the first time we haven't seen his goofy ass in a fucking suit. Like, that's a little bit of character development. It's like, oh, he likes to relax sometimes. Anyway, so he gets... But that's later on. So he goes up, he turns the music off. He's like, that's strange. I don't see my hot daughter anywhere. Cut to Eli downstairs stealing a whole bunch of papers. And then leaves him a note that says, you're so screwed. Yeah, good idea, Eli. Leave your own handwriting at the scene of a crime, you dumbass. The sheriff's now interviewing Lang because Daisy pointed her toward Lang. Daisy's pretty sketchy. And here's the thing. This is a little side thing about Lang. I don't know. Lang definitely could have some ins on all this because I can't really figure out what her role is, you know? It's like Lang literally had like a death scene. She just didn't die. Why the fuck are they keeping her around? Now, if she's not the killer or an accomplice type thing, I mean, yeah, she's the background with Piper, blah, blah. That's what makes me think it's not her or whatever, because it's a little bit obvious. But at the same time, here's the thing. This is what I think about her, why she's still alive. Maybe the killer went and visited her when she was in jail or in hospital, Kieran, and made a deal with her that's like, hey, I'll give you inside information and here's your book and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, maybe she'll be a part of season 3 or whatever, a little bit more, but it does sketch me out that she's still alive. Anyway, so the sheriff goes and visits Lang. He's like, you knew Piper. She's like, no, I didn't know Piper. He's like, yes, you did know Piper. She's like, okay, maybe I knew her a little bit. And he's like, Gustavo crazy. She's like, no, he learned it by watching you. He draws pictures because he saw some gangbanger get shot or some crime scene of a gangbanger get shot, and this is how he relates to you. And I think that's true. I think they just gave us our reason. We've been wondering all... So we don't ask when everything's said and done, why did Gustavo draw all that crazy stuff? What was the point of that? It was just character development, nothing more. So anyway, she gives us Gustavo's whole backstory thing. And then Lang proceeds to be like, hey, do you know about that bus here in town? And do you know about Emma here? I'm going to throw Emma right underneath that fucking bus. She throws Emma under the bus so fucking bad. I'm like, gosh, she's got to be the killer, or she's a bitch, or she's in cahoots, hashtag cahoots, with the killer, and she wants to deal for a book a la Gale Weathers, which totally makes sense. So anyway, if she's working in cahoots with the killer and she wants a better story, and what's a better story than these two, you know, lesbian killer teens who had to deal with it once before, and the final girls ended up being the killers. This is great stuff for a book. She's probably the one who's writing most of it now, as opposed to it being Kieran. It's the boyfriend again. Lame ending to a book, even though that's where it's going and it's going to be awesome. Still, she's like, that's a lame ending to a book. Make it both of them. Kieran's like, okay, I can do, no problem. So anyway, she throws him under the bus. The sheriff totally buys it, blah, blah, blah. Cut to Gustavo and Brooke. That's my girl. Stay away from her with your bike riding ass. She tells Gustavo to go home. Gustavo goes home, blah, blah, blah. Or Gustavo tells her he's going home. Gustavo goes to visit Noah, which was a nice little scene. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't bring flowers. And Noah's like, you don't seem like the visiting type. And he's like, you know what? I don't think you should stop the podcast, dumbass. I'm like, you call Noah dumbass one more time? No, I'm just joking. He whooped my ass so quick. Anyway, so he's like, blah, blah, blah. They talk about this, that, the other. And he's like, hey, I sent you something. And then the oh shit violins start playing. He was like, check your email. And it's like, dun, 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 dun. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Like, seriously, those violins make me stand up and pause the show. I, like, pause the show. I'm like, fuck, fuck, fuck. Like, what the fuck did Gustavo just send him that made us, that we're getting the violins and shit? like, those violins, that means shit's about to go down. So I'm like, oh, fuck. So I pause it. I go, like, outside. I'm like, oh, shit. And, like, calling fucking family and friends, being like, this shit's about to get fucking heavy. They're like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm like, watching Scream. They're like, don't call me again. I'm like, fuck. So I run back inside. I hit play. And, okay, this is a sweet gesture, and it's cool, and I enjoy it, and whatever, and it's really cool. And as you can see, it's the background for this video. Very cool art, very cool gesture, yada, yada, yada. And I do not blame Gustavo for this being a lame reveal at all. I don't blame Gustavo. I don't blame the director. I don't blame Noah. I don't blame the artist who draws his awesome stuff. I don't blame anybody. I blame the person who was editing this and was like, we need music to stick in here. I'm going to stick in this fucking violin thing. Nobody knows what that is. These violins sound cool. Somebody should have been like, asshole, no. Those violins are specifically used for the most badass reveals of this show. You can't just throw those fucking violins in there for a fucking comic book. Like, you're going to give people heart attacks and shit. And he's like, whatever, fuck that guy on YouTube who does those killer theories. I'm going to give him a heart attack all day. Do it. Dun, 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 comic book. Kiss my ass. Anyway, so, sorry about that. It was all really cool. Just watch, we're using violins, bro. Okay, so then we cut into Eli. Oh, Eli, see, there you go. Kieran creeping into his own house. He's listening to Eli and his mom talk, and then blah, blah, blah. Eli even says something about, oh, the mayor's been doing this, and he's been doing this, and he's even played the Jameses. And so anyway, Kieran hears that shit, and he's like, he goes over, he looks at the documents. That's what he uses against the mayor later. And it's because he hears the whole even played the James that's why he kills him. Plus, probably, Brooke's dad and this, that, the other. And he knows that Eli was just sketching around, so they're going to blame Eli even more. So he's like, all right, all these things together mean that the mayor's about to get his ass fucked up. So anyway, Kieran decides he's going to kill him. Put that on the back burner for now. I actually, at this part, I was like, oh shit, is Kieran going to die? I was just legitimately stressed out because the two final girls watching somebody do stuff over cameras, it's always like, hold on, I hear something. And turns the camera in the other direction or something, and the killer boom out from like a closet or some shit. And I was like, no, Kieran, don't die. That one's going to be real hard to fucking talk through. But again, I kind of, if Kieran would have died, I would have been like, I knew it was going to happen. Told you it was going to happen. But anyway, so he's running around and he takes a whole bunch of notes that he... Okay, how do I break this down? I mean, you guys already know this, but for this person who's watching this who hasn't listened to any other ones, this is what happened. So he's like, okay, well, I'm going to turn this whole thing against Eli. So he goes and he grabs the notes that the accomplice, Zoe, got from Piper. So Zoe had these notes, and she was withholding them from Kieran, right? So Kieran finds out, blah, 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 blah. We've already been through this, that Zoe was the accomplice, that she was hiding Audrey from him. Kieran finds all this out. Kieran finds the letters that Zoe had. Kieran takes these letters. Kieran then is like, okay, I'm going to use these to implement the next person that really kind of fits into everything, which is Eli. So he takes those and he just takes them from his bedroom and sticks them into Eli's nasty old futon that he probably shares with his mom, and sticks them in there, then goes back and gets them. And he's like, oh, well, why am I going to bother to go put these in these nasty ass futon? And just when I could tell people that I did that, he was like, oh, well, since I already went into his nasty ass room, I'm going to have them on the phone so they can see me do it, because otherwise it would have been useless. And Kieran runs back outside. He puts the letters literally into the final girl's hands. He's like, here, look at this. And he even basically asked him, he's like, what does this mean? If I found this stuff, like, it's crazy shit. I mean, rewatch that scene. He's like, if I found these in Eli's room, what does that mean, final girls? And lets them put the pieces together. And they're like, if Eli had these, that means he's the killer. He's like, God, finally you two. God, thank God Audrey's here. Emma would have never put that shit together. So anyway, he's like, oh, thank God Audrey's here. So he hands the notes to Audrey. Yeah, make sure you see that, because he's like, I better hand these to Audrey, because Emma would just be like, oh my God, that must mean that it's Duvall. He's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Here, Audrey, you hold them. So anyway, Audrey's holding them. And Audrey's like, we need to turn these in. And Emma's like, no, we can't turn these in. That would be a good idea. Kieran's like, thank God I didn't hand him to fucking Emma. So anyway, Audrey's like, we need to turn these in. And Emma's like, no, we need more evidence. Seriously, watch that scene again. She's like, we need more evidence. Kieran looks at Audrey, then looks down at the notes. And he's like, turn that shit over, bitch. He says it with his eyes. He's like, turn that shit over. Audrey follows his eyes, flips it over, finds more evidence, which is exactly what Emma said they needed. Audrey finds Emma's pics from the farmhouse, and Kieran's like, I wonder what that means. Put two and two together. Not you, Emma. You stay the fuck out of this. Audrey, put it together. And Audrey's like, oh my god, this totally must be him, and he must have been the one who was at the pig farm, so we need to go to the pig farm next. He's like, thank the fuck, I should have been dating you this whole time, Audrey. My god, you can put shit together. Emma's just standing here like, oh my god, I feel so betrayed by Eli. Everyone's like, shut the fuck up, Emma. So Audrey's putting all this shit together, and Emma's just staring off into space, thinking about how she can cheat on Kieran next. Kieran's orchestrating this whole thing. So anyway, he's like, okay, you guys go to the pig farm. I'm going to go tell on you. I'm going to go, like, fucking figure out a way how to murder Eli's ass. Audrey's like, here, take these back. And he's like, okay, what the fuck not? So he fucks off and does that. And this is where he fucks up, is that Eli sees him do it. Eli doesn't say anything, and people are like, oh, Eli doesn't say anything because he's the killer. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. No, Eli doesn't say anything when he sees him doing it because he's going to confront him on the next episode. He'd be like, dude, you've been doing some sketchy shit. What's with them notes? Plus, he wants to see what's on those notes. He thinks he's the killer. He's been, like, stalking his tree and shit like that. He wants to see what's on these notes. So that's going to lead to some good stuff next episode. Okay, then we cut to the mayor and Brooke, and mayor walks into the house. Brooke's way up on the stairs. I'm like, come on, camera, just pan down a little bit more. All the guys know what I'm talking about. The girls are like, what are you talking about? I didn't notice anything about the camera. All the guys were like, come on, camera, just a little bit lower, camera. So anyway, she's way up top, and you can, what's her name, Brooke? Anyway, so he's basically, and the only thing you really get from this is that, oh, get to know the mayor one more time before, but he says something that I thought was pretty cool, pretty pivotal. He's like, I missed you, Brooke, because she wasn't in the last episode. He's like, I missed you, Brooke, and she's like, good. And I was just like, yeah, that was the entire audience. Like, thank God you're in this episode, Brooke. She didn't really get much to do, though. But this is because this is Emma and Audrey's season. And they're getting dwindling the Lakewood Six down. We'll, of course, always have Emma, unfortunately, a state killer in this last episode, which would be nice, but they're probably not going to. So we get Emma and Audrey, Noah, and we're about to kill Kieran. So now we just need to find a spot for Brooke, and Brooke is definitely set up throughout the rest of this episode and the rest of the season as very much of a setup for her being the killer for next year, because her boyfriend, possibly two of her boyfriends, poor Gustavo, might have to go. But I think she'll need somebody next season, so I wouldn't be surprised if Gustavo stuck around to be her boyfriend for next season and be sketchy again. But anyway, so Brooke has to see her father die. She has to see her boyfriend die, Jake. And so she's getting set up for some shit. And we still haven't met her mom, so hopefully she ends up having to go stay with her mom or some shit, because they're all going to go to college, so might as well go stay with her mom. What's the difference? And hopefully her mom will be like somebody cool from the Scream movies. Like Noah's mom will be Neve Campbell. Her mom will be like fucking Courtney Cox or some cool shit. So anyway, moving on from Brooke. Brooke texts Gustavo. She's like, how did it go with your dad? And Gustavo's just, he's on his way out. Where's he going? I think I know exactly where Gustavo's going. He has a pic of the killer, a new drawing of the killer, and that's nothing new. He draws shit all the time. He draws a shot of Audrey with a gun, which he wasn't there to see, but anyway, it's a cool picture. And then Kieran. For the first time, we see a picture of Kieran. And he puts the picture of Kieran in between Audrey shooting the killer. In the middle, puts the killer, and he's like, and then he disappears. Why is he disappearing? Because I think he now suspects Kieran. And his dad is eventually in the next episode going to be like, why didn't you tell me? And he's like, Dad, I didn't think you would believe me. And he's like, you can tell me anything, son. And it will be a nice, heartwarming end to their story. Same thing, Brooke will be like, Gustavo, I'm hot. Why didn't you tell me that you thought that one of my friends was a killer? He's like, I didn't want to say until I knew for sure he's a good friend of yours, and I didn't want to upset you. So anyway, and there's totally a bit of, I don't know, it's not even foreshadowing. They just straight up do this shit. With Gustavo later, Gustavo is, I believe, going to confront Kieran about possibly being the killer. And there's some stuff pointing to that, and I'll get to that in 1 second. Okay, just a little quick thing before we get into Gustavo and the whole confronting Kieran thing is the sheriff and the deputy. comes in and he's like, we only found certain kind of blood thing, blah, blah, blah. There's just something funny to point out here. The deputy says, how do you bury somebody alive and not use fingerprints? And the sheriff says, I don't know. I've never buried anybody alive. That was the sheriff being nice as hell. He's like, he's firing the shit out of that deputy right after that. The deputy basically, this is how real life, he's like, how do you bury somebody alive and not leave fingerprints? And the sheriff just looks up. He's like, gloves, dipshit. You're fired. Anyway, moving on from that, Noah's doing his last podcast. We find out it's not really his last podcast. He's going to keep it going in memory of her. And he starts to say, and it's the whole like, and it's doing this montage. Okay, here's the thing. This montage, well, I'll get to that in a second, but it's the Gustavo thing. He says, we have to do this, we have to do that, we have to rise up against the monsters. Cue Gustavo headed somewhere. Now, I don't think that's Gustavo going to the barn to get ready to kill somebody. That's Gustavo rising up against the monster, which is Kieran. So anyway, that's where he's heading, blah, blah, blah. That's why I didn't tell Brooke. So it turns out the killer's uploading something, and Noah even says something. And I just personally think this is interesting if Zoe is somehow still alive, which she can't be. That's some silly shit. But anyway, he's like, I'll think of you every time I hit upload. Now let's see if you're listening. I don't know. I don't agree that Zoe being alive is a good idea by any means. I don't think that it's a good idea. But come on, they were pretty much setting that shit up right there. That's a little bit too on the nose. But anyway, how she escaped from the morgue and all this crazy shit, unless she does have Maggie is the overall killer, like I think, and she's somehow helping the other killers, which is what I also think. So it's like she fakes her death. Maggie puts her in whatever, lets her go. I don't know. This is all really silly, and I do not stand by it, and I think it's kind of a cheat writers. But anyway, he's just basically like, let's see if you're listening, and then everything goes crazy. It cuts to a nightmare in Lakewood. Bum, bum, bum. Now, this is a very well-produced video, so I don't know if Kieran knows how to do this kind of stuff, but if he, like, learned how to do it, I mean, Kieran's just a badass. Like, he works on trucks, he deals with Emma's shit all the time. He learned how to be a killer, and he took, like, some really cool video making, classes at the local community college. They're like, what do you need to use these for? He's like, oh no, don't worry about that, as he's sharpening his fucking knife. So anyway, Kieran's a renaissance man. He knows how to get all his shit done. So he made this really cool video that basically is just like Emma and Audrey are killers, the movie, Heavenly Creature, go figure. Now see, this is the thing. This is what you call an orgy of evidence. Any cop would look at this and be like, bullshit. But anyway, they don't. But the other scary thing is, truthfully, if there were like real life killers nowadays, this might be how they would do it. But anyway, one thing to really point out about this video, and this is the big one, show you fucked up on this one, is that Emma's notes are cut out from the dream journal and placed in the video, right? Okay, listen to this. So Emma's parts are voiced over in, like, she's like, in my dreams, like, or she didn't say in my dreams, I stabbed all my friends. My hands are covered with blood. We hear her voice say this. When did she ever say that to somebody? It wasn't like she says that stuff to Kieran. I remember specifically because I remember making the joke about, you stabbed me in a dream. You better wake up and apologize. So anyway, Kieran was recording her, and he fucked up because now he used that recording in this video. What an idiot. Anyway, I'm sorry, Kieran. Don't come and kill me. Oh my god, holy shit. I'm going to lock my doors right now. Holy shit. I'm sorry, Kieran. I'm sorry. I didn't mean that shit. You're awesome. You slipped up once, though, bro. Anyway, and then poor Brooke. She gets to see this stuff again. She's set up, like I said, to be next season's killer. She's got to watch Jake die. Oh, again, bloods, guts, gore. So the sheriff's watching the podcast. Maggie shows up. She says, Kieran told me. She walks in. She's like, Kieran called me and told me he wasn't the killer. And then he said where Emma and Audrey went to the pig farm. And he's like, oh, my God, we need to go to the pig farm. So they fuck off and they go to the pig farm. Emma and Audrey are already at the pig farm. Emma finds a room. The mayor shows up, sending a whole bunch of ironic texts. He's like, I'm done playing your games. And it's like, whew. And it's got to go around another dark corner. There's like a fuckload of dark corners in this one barn. So anyway, the mayor just keeps sending texts where I'm like, bro, stop. Like, you're just setting yourself up for this shit. Like, Noel would not approve. He's like, the mayor's was sending around, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty scary. If we didn't see the promo last week, it would have been scary. However, we all saw the promo. We all knew his ass was going to die. So then the killer jumps out Prowler style. Again, watch the movie The Prowler. Uses a pitchfork to kill motherfuckers. Anyway, so this killer jumps out and he's like, blah, blah, blah. I'm totally not Gustavo. And stabs him, right? And again, the whole Jamie Travers shot just stabs his ass across the barn. Like, he stabs him on one end of the barn and then runs him to the other side of the barn. It's like stabs him up against a fucking like tractor and shit. He's like, you can't be more dead, motherfucker. Stab, 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 stab. And then he runs off. He's like, oh shit, blah, blah, blah. And the killer, like, you know, doesn't pick up the phone, by the way. This is a big thing. Doesn't pick up the phone. So the killer runs out. Okay. Finally, dumbass Emma. And she finds her way in, probably because Audrey was like, hey, come in here real quick. Emma's like, I had dreams about this place. She's like, I fucking know, Emma, just shut up and come with me. So anyway, Audrey opens the door. Emma follows her in. They find the mayor bleeding out like a motherfucker. He pulls the pitchfork out of himself. I'm like, yeah, bring on a pain. Like, he ain't having that shit. He dies. Oh, well, poor guy. And so they run over and they make sure to put their blood all over their hands and shit like that. I'm like, But here's the interesting thing. In one of the shots, you see that the mayor's phone is still lying next to him, right? Okay. In another one, you see throughout most of the scene that the other phone, the one that was texting him the whole time and everything, is still in the background. Okay, this is the big one. Don't fucking text me this shit this time, guys. Or don't comment this shit this time. This is the thing that people who don't actually watch the video are going to comment this time. They'll be like, did you see the phone in the barn? That was Gustavo's phone. Oh, God. So if you guys are scrolling through the comments and you see somebody comment me that shit, just be like, you're a fucking asshole. I'm joking. I don't mean to be mean, but those last few killer theories killed me when people are sending me stuff like, oh my God, in episode 1, there was the whole boy-girl interrupted thing. Why is nobody talking about that? And I'm just like, guys, you haven't watched a damn fucking episode. And they're like, I personally think it's Kieran. It's like, dude, I'll kill you. Anyway, so just don't watch for people comment. Okay, so I saw that it was Kieran. That it looked like Gustavo's phone. Okay, here's the thing. Okay, so Gustavo was heading over to tell Kieran. Kieran intercepted his ass, probably whooped him, because the only person who could conceivably whoop Gustavo's ass is Kieran, but he would need backup. So let's just say 2 Kierans whooped his ass. Definitely had to get the drop on him. So anyway, Kieran whoops his ass. So he takes Gustavo's phone, and that's what he uses to, text the mayor and blah, blah, blah. So in the next episode, that'll be our like, oh my God, it's actually not Eli who's been pointed to this whole time. It's actually Gustavo, and then the final twist killer reveal will be Kieran. But everybody will think it's Gustavo because Gustavo's connected to everybody, and they'll be like, they'll find the phone, and the sheriff's like, where's Gustavo's phone? And he'll call it, and an evidence bag will ring. They'll pull out Gustavo's phone. They can't find Gustavo. Everybody will think that it is Gustavo, as the person with the mask is stalking and trying to kill Emma and Audrey out in the woods, or whatever that shit is from next episode. So in the episode ends with Emma and Audrey arrested. This was a really cool image, I have to say. Just seeing the two of them in the back of the cop car. Very cool. That's something I was like, yeah, that's badass. That's badass. And, right before they get put into the back, guess who shows his happy ass up? The sheriff's like, I want 100-mile search in a radius around this farmhouse. Ain't nobody getting out. That's Tommy Lee Jones' impression from The Fugitive. I want to check every farmhouse, hen house, dog house, and shit house from here to blah, blah, blah. So as he's saying all that, it's like, okay, the killer could not have escaped unless the killer... Oh, there he is. And Kieran just comes driving up right into the middle of it. And he's like, hey, here I am. I'm not the killer, because obviously the killer wouldn't be here at this point. So anyway, he gets out and his hair's disheveled, which that's Kieran's way of acting like, shit's for real. His hair's not moosed up. Again, I'm joking, Kieran. Please don't fucking come here and kill me, Jesus Christ. So anyway, Kieran shows up and his hair looks awesome, and he's totally like awesome, and there's nothing wrong with how Kieran performs anything. So anyway, Kieran shows up and he's awesome, and nobody suspects him again, and he walks off into the sunset to eventually, as we see in the promo, crash the cop car, get them out of it, go to the movie theater, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so let's go into this promo. Again, I usually don't watch the promos. I really tried to put off watching the promos. But I watched last week and I watched this one because I don't want y'all motherfuckers knowing anything that I don't know. It's not fair at this point. The promo for next week It's in the movie theater. Nice. That's really awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. I love movie theaters. I spend my entire life in an old-fashioned movie theater if I could. And just that one little moment, I could replay it. Send me a GIF if you can find it of just Brooke with the scythe. Just so cute. I love Brooke so much. So anyway, they're all locking and loading, getting ready to fight, this, that, the other. And we hear Noah's like, if Piper had an accomplice, maybe that accomplice found another accomplice. Like, Jesus Christ, enough already. There might be 2 killers. Yeah, no shit, man. You're already catching up to us. The only thing he didn't say was like, if Piper had an accomplice, maybe that accomplice found another accomplice. ... You know, like that guy on YouTube has been saying for the last few fucking months. Anyway, if the fucking characters from Lakewood listen to this podcast, I swear to God, they'd be a lot better off. Not Emma. She'd still be like, oh my God, he doesn't like me. I feel so betrayed. Boom, crap. Perfect. Anyway, so one little interesting thing is that we eventually see Emma all alone. She's at the Face the Mask thing. She's standing right in front of where Haley died. I don't know if that necessarily means anything, but this is what I think it means. Emma, eventually, everybody will be at the theater. Let's all hang together. Let's kill the killer. Yada, yada, yada. That's the killer trying to get everybody in the same spot. He'll say some stupid-ass thing. He doesn't have to say much to get Emma to separate from the group, and she won't tell anybody, and she'll be looking at all of them as they're all standing around guarding the whole place, and she'll sneak the fuck off, go off by herself. So she goes to the Face the Mask thing, real nice. But here's the other thing, is it's like, it's not just where Haley's killed. I mean, that might end up being something, but it's also where it says Face the Mask, Waka Waka. This is where she'll have to actually face who's under the mask. But the other thing is, it's also the orphanage where the Piper grew up. So it all comes back together. Emma will have her final showdown with Kieran in this orphanage in front of the Face the Mask thing. More than likely without Noah or Audrey, who will all race to try and get there because they'll all look around and be like, oh my God, where did Emma's dumbass go? I guess we have to go save her again. And one thing that's cool about this is separating her from the herd, like Kieran says, or Noah says in front of Kieran in episode 1, he's a predator trying to separate, he's a lone wolf trying to separate someone from the herd. He separates her from the herd, explains everything to her, and he's like, baby, I didn't want to kill you, and blah, 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 and now we can be alone and we can run off, and da-da-da-da-da. And she'll try and kill him, blah, blah, blah. Just hope to God Kieran's just like, hey, baby, let's run away. And she's like, no, and he's just, all right, fuck you then, pow! And just shoots her, and then like Kieran goes and has sex with everybody she knew, or has sex with Brooke. They have little like awesome babies with like, you know, killer babies. Anyway, and Emma's just dead. So, and then Bi-Curious and the Virgin, they hook up, cuts 20 years later, and it's just an awesome show, and Emma's gone. So anyway, I look forward to next week. Next week I'm going to probably be recording myself watching it. I'll put up some video, which is the killer reactions. Then I'll do a recap, which will probably be up by the morning, of the final episode. And then I'll probably do a separate one with Killer Congrats, going through everything with everybody. And yeah, should be pretty fun. We're reaching the end of this, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, I am running out of fucking energy for this show. My God, I'm about to have a panic attack every time there's like a character alone. I'm like, oh God, no, run. I don't want to see nobody die anymore. I swear, if there's ever a scene where, like, Brooke's alone, it just freaks me out way too much. I'm like, no, Brooke, you need to stay by somebody's... Girl, what's wrong with you? I feel like her father. I'm like, Brooke, you need a buddy. You need a swimming buddy at all times, Brooke. Get your hot ass in somebody else's house. So anyway, I'll see you guys next week for the final episode's review and all that kind of stuff that I just mentioned. And watch out for either the secret bonus episode 10 review, which will be coming sometime random. You never know. I don't know. Whatever. We'll see. But I will see you then next time, guys, later on. Oh, and a special shout out to WeGaming174 and Dylan Birch. Sorry I forgot you guys last time. There you go. There's your shout out. Thanks a lot, guys. Talk to you soon.